Hey there, if you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment to leave a review and to follow or subscribe. Don't forget to share with anybody that you think might be interested. Your support is greatly appreciated. Word of mouth is incredibly powerful, and it's the best way for us to reach more people and grow this wonderful community. Thanks again for listening. This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. Today's guest is someone who quite literally lives in the room where it happens, on a global scale. She is one of the world's leading producers of live entertainment, a creative force whose work has spanned 25 years, 5 continents, and some of the most ambitious productions ever brought to life. Originally from Australia and now based in Hong Kong, she began her career backstage at the iconic Sydney Opera House before stepping into the world of Cirque du Soleil as stage manager for the Beatles LOVE in Las Vegas. From there, she went on to become general stage manager for House of Dancing Water in Macau, a multi-billion-dollar aquatic spectacle that redefined what live entertainment could be. Her decade-long collaboration with visionary director Franco Dragone, including serving as COO, cemented her reputation as someone who can hold both the artistry and the complexity of large-scale creation. Today, as executive producer at Our Legacy Creations and CEO of StageLink, she continues to shape the future of the performing arts, developing original experiences, connecting global communities, and reimagining how this industry evolves across cultures and continents. She is a powerful voice on leadership under pressure, in motion, taking the stage at TEDx to share what it means to make clear, grounded decisions in the most high-stakes environments. This is a conversation about creativity at scale, leadership in the unknown, and what it really takes to bring something extraordinary to life. And I must add that I know this person personally, and have had the great pleasure of working with her both professionally and in a leadership capacity, and I am so excited to welcome her here and to celebrate and introduce you all to the wonderful Anna Robb. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. What a wonderful wrap up. And I think you undersold yourself in how much you helped me in my career with you just know me. No, you've been an integral part of the last 2 years of my life. So yeah, it's wonderful to be able to speak on this platform.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. And it's, we work together on leadership, right? That's what brought us together. And, Anna and I could both preach now to all of us about what leadership is about, how we lead with our energy, and that we always have a choice of doing this. And I am so excited to get into that. But first, I would love it if you would just share like a little bit of your origin story.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you just asked that question, I think a lot of people, because I also do a podcast, when I ask them to give me a little bit of a wrap up of their how they got to be where they are, a lot of them will share with me their trajectory or their career trajectory. And for me, it's never really been about a career trajectory, because I think at the core of who I am and what I do is I'm really a resilient, passionate, adventurous, risk-taking person. And on the back of being of that nature, a career has evolved over the last 20, 25 years. And I think that, when I think about all of these moments that defined my sort of leap forward or my big projects that I've had to take, has always been on the precipice of me taking major risks, or what I used to say is like jumping off a cliff. When I left Australia, I had a lot of work in Australia. I had a lot of projects, but I felt that I was being pushed into things like technical direction and production management. And I just loved running shows. I just loved running shows. And I just was like, well, if I'm being pushed into these roles, let me go where there's bigger shows and then I'll try and work there. And I literally got on a plane with no plan and went to London, and it was a disaster. I landed in a very disastrous situation. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have any job opportunities. But what's amazing when you throw yourself to the wind in that is how you can land on your feet.
Yeah.
And in that path, I ended up at Cirque du Soleil, even though the Cirque du Soleil was in Las Vegas, not in London. That's a whole other story. And in the same vein, the next big leap after I left Cirque du Soleil, I left, I had learnt what I'd learnt from Cirque du Soleil, and I understood that I wanted to take those skills that I'd used and facilitate that somewhere else. So again, I left and having no job and no next step and things like that. And I watch people a lot of these days where they want to see their path and they want security. And I often encourage people to, launch themselves into the unknown, because the big major things that have happened for me have happened with my ability to jump off that cliff, not knowing where I was going to land. And all that's all well and good, because then you've got family and partners and things like that. So those things come into your life, which did come into my life as well. So you not only, when you're young and single and free, it's very easy to jump off that cliff, right? Yeah. But then when you've got dependents, and so you've got to find that balance. And I have to find that balance. For me, I have to find that balance where I feel like I've got that opportunity to take those risks and those opportunities. And that's how I continue to live my life in my work and in my personal life and in my all round. It's getting to know and understand myself and how I operate and how I find peace in how I operate has been the consequences has been that career. Do you know what I mean? And I think knowing yourself as best as you can about what lane you sit in and what you're good at and what you need and what world you need to create around yourself to have a satisfactory life, and that's different for everyone, is the cultivating factor in having an enjoyable life as well as a good career.
Yeah, I love that. The risk piece is really interesting, right? Because I'm guessing, and I'd love to dig in if it's okay with you, I'm guessing that risk looks and feels differently now, not because it's the same thing. Like, it's not so much that you're looking at it differently, but although that's probably true as well, but that that risk means something different to you. It might not mean just jumping into the unknown. It might mean saying no. It might mean, I fill in the blanks. So I'm just curious to know, how risk at this stage in your life and career has changed at all, or what it is for you now.
Well, I think the way that you start having the agency for risk is having yourself set up in a manner where you can take those risks, right? And I think that one of the things that I've learnt as an expat and as a parent and living in a volatile industry is I have to have, some foundations, which is enough savings to live for 6 months in the location that I live in, and enough sort of to pay for the school fees and the rent and the things like that, right? Like, you need to have a financial grounding to be able to launch off that. So it's really important to get the foundations there so that it's not just reckless decisions and throwing yourself into that. I've had an opportunity, when I joined OLC, to actually invest some money into the start of that company, as well as work without pay for a certain period of time. Now, that can be very nerve-wracking for a lot of people to go, okay, I'm going to start a company, I'm going to put money in it, and I'm not going to take a salary for this period of time. But because of my situation and because what I'd set up previously, that's a big risk, because I could land at the end of that thing and it didn't work, and I've invested money and I went without salary, and now I've got to quick find a job and get some money soon. Do you know what I mean? So I would say that the approach to risk becomes a more structured approach to risk, right? Like, it becomes a more mature approach of what is best for for me to be able to feel that freedom, and still create the stability and the routines and necessary things for the children and
Hmm.
my current situation. So yeah, it's shifted a little bit, but I never would want people to. I think it's really awesome for the kids to also see you take those risks and see you
Mm.
approach life with some audaciousness, so that they in turn can then feel a little bit of fearlessness, and also to know that, okay, we're going to try something and we might fail at it, and we might fail spectacularly, but you know what? That's how we grow, and that's how we learn, and that's how
Yeah.
we can move forward. And you never know with kids, right? Because you've like, they're little drops in a bucket that you spend with them every day. And it's only now in the teen years where you see your parenting coming back to to you in full force. So it's a fascinating journey.
Totally, totally. You've got two, right? And what
I have
age are
two
they now?
children. My son is 15 and my daughter is almost 13 next month. So
Your mini
yes.
me, yes.
Yeah, my little mini me.
You're making me think about that. You know that concept of failing fast? What do you think about that? I'm riffing off the risk thing, right? So when you where it sounds like when you're younger, what have you got to lose, right? Because
Mm,
you're gonna learn something, and nobody else will be affected. When you're older, you know more, which can make it more difficult just because you know more, because there's more sort of things that come into it, but that can also help you and make make it a calculated risk. But then there's also the others, like your family, that are affected by that. So the fail fast thing, is that something that is valuable to you as a kind of concept?
I think in my personal life, no, I don't buy into these kind of catchphrases of failing fast and only because it doesn't apply to my life. Like
Mm,
my risks, for example, are actually long-term investment risks, right? For example, Stage Link, we're doing a massive upgrade. It's taken longer than we've expected it to do.
mm,
This is a year and a half risk. This is not a fail fast risk. This is a long haul. You know,
mm.
people will see the result of this thing and they'll be like, oh, it's just a new thing. They won't know that there's a year and a half of work behind the scenes for that risk
Yes,
to take. And
yes.
for me, there's such a world where everything moves so fast, and there's quick cash and AI and build a business here and do that.
Yeah.
I don't buy into that. I believe in authenticity. I believe in the human connection. I believe that quality work takes time. I believe that craftsmanship, especially in the arts, is an earned thing that is cultivated over many years, and you can only truly reap those rewards and results after a dedication to a practice over many
Mm,
years. And I think that when I think about some of the risks, you know, like for example, the Stage Link or some other things that I'm working on in my own sort of things, is it a risk? No, but it is a dedication of my time for a
hmm.
significant period that that I'm not getting paid for, that I'm doing on my own volition, and I'm trying to take something to the next level, and
Yep.
that's a long-term thing. So that's not a fail fast. That's a big investment, long-term. Let's see if it works out kind
Yeah.
of situation.
You walk you walk the line as a stage manager, right? First, right? I mean, your job is to make sure that everything runs smoothly and timely. So talk
Mm.
talk to me a little bit about that and how you navigate that.
Well, the beautiful thing about being a stage manager for live entertainment is you have to accept imperfection.
Yeah.
And for someone who, you know, likes all her ducks in a row and things in boxes and things checked, what a beautiful lesson to learn that there's no perfection in any given show, you know, and especially when you're running large scale circus shows, because you know that no show is the same, no lineup of people is the same, nothing is going to run exactly the way that it does every day. And in that space um, is a beautiful lesson of striving for perfection, but being okay when you don't reach that perfection. And
Mm.
most of the time when I now produce shows, I'm looking at the team, I'm looking at the time, I'm looking at the quality of the team, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to shoot for the stars, but my expectation of where we're probably going to land is around here, just because there's no perfect combination. And when you're a producer, you're trying to create those synergies of time and people, resources, money, and
Yeah.
talent into a concoction that is successful. And if we were the masters, as soon as you add the human element, there's going to be things to manage and there's going to be things to do, and so
Yeah.
there's that concoction is something I'm really quite fascinated with, but also
Mm.
that balance between striving for perfection but allowing it not to be is a really healthy thing as a stage manager, but also as a producer. That and something that I've learned as I've moved into leadership roles, because like in the stage management space, you're the doer, you're the executor,
Hmm.
and you're the one that's in control of that. When you're a leader, you're laying the table and letting people have the dinner at it, right? Like you're not ultimately um, responsible for how the dinner rolls out because you're not actively in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
And so it's a fascinating journey. And then I'd say, so that's one thing I'd want to say about stage management and the skills. And all of that is a beautiful lesson also that I've applied to my life as a parent and other facets of my friendships and all of those things in my life of, attempting to do things, and going for the goal, but being okay with less than that, just because the effort of trying is worth it. And
Mm.
then the second thing I would say, which is sort of leans into, what I talked about in my TEDx talk, when you train as a show caller, especially in the circus realm, you are put in a position where um, you have to make decisions on the fly all the time, every time, and in a state of fear. And
Mm.
because you've got people's lives at stake, you've got
Yeah.
2,000 people watching, you've got acrobats that might be underwater or in this air and things like that. And what years of that, like when they always sort of talk about the 10,000 hours thing. When you do 10,000 hours of something, you know what I mean? You become
Mm.
really, really good at it.
Mm.
And I'm very good at making decisions fast, right?
Hmm.
And that's not always the situation that I make decisions fast, because if there's times to make decisions, you should take the time to make a decision. But if you have to make a decision fast, I can do it. And I never really realized that superpower until I applied that outside the show world, trying to
Mm.
make fast decisions and moving through life where you're like, okay, we're doing that, and how much I can achieve or activate in a day. There's such an amazing thing about people who work in live entertainment is a lot of the people every day at 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock, we drop everything and we deliver.
Yeah.
We deliver, 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 deliver. And you've got to understand the rest of the world just doesn't deliver on a regular basis like that so consistently.
Consistently. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it is such a mind training. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell this story that when I moved to a agency where I was creative producing stuff when I first moved to Hong Kong, and we were delivering something in Saudi Arabia, and and the delivery of equipment was going to be late. And I was like, okay, well, we've got to figure this out. We've got to get it there on time. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, we'll just move the delivery date for like 2 weeks. And in my mind just kind of exploded because I was like, sorry, what? We can change the delivery date? That wasn't even when opening night is opening night. Like, you don't just change the delivery date. You don't just change opening night. And what it does is you see that you have this wiring. And there's so many things that I'll do on a day-to-day basis that has replaced my delivery of a show. Like, I'll
Yeah.
do my Duolingo every day. Like, it
Me
will
too.
happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's little things that I have in my day that I will do every day because
Yes.
it's a little deliverable that I actually need in my life because I'm so used to doing it. I'm so used to delivering it. And that consistency is such an
Hmm.
amazing thing. And I think people in the arts, we talk about our creativity and we can talk about it, but there's so many other facets of our modes of operation that are
Yes.
so productive and very amazing to share with people who don't work in our industry, I would say.
When you were a young person, was there a seminal moment when you kind of were at least started to get interested in theater or in, live entertainment, or what was your first exposure to that?
But it's kind of funny because I think when I was 11, we went to a um, production in our local town from the Mansfield Musical and Dramatic Society called MUDS. MUDS, what they were called, just a non-profit
Yeah.
thing. And we saw Fiddler on the Roof. And I must have at the time had said to my dad, I want to do that, or I want to be involved in that. Like
Mm,
that looks cool. Not knowing really what that was. So
yeah.
my dad's like, all right, my daughter wants to be on stage, so let me go help make that happen. And so the next production was Brigadoon, old musical, and we went down to the local high school at Mansfield where they had the auditions, or I don't even know if it was auditions. It's whoever wanted to be in the show because it's a small country town of 6,000 people, right? Like, so, and we went in there, and I distinctly remember this moment because we walked in with my dad and me to the high school like room. And the two men in the room turned to us and looked at my dad and said, "Oh, great, we need more men." And my dad's like, "Oh, no, here for my daughter." And and in the next thing, like dad was playing Angus McMoney's, he was
Oh my
singing on
God.
stage, he's the local pharmacist, everyone's showing up. And I'm totally upstaged by my dad in my first production. I'm just in a little Highland skirt at the back doing some sword dancing.
That's
And it was just so funny. I was
amazing.
like, "You drove me backstage, Dad, because you upstaged me in my first production."
That's incredible. Oh my God, I love
But
that.
But it's not true. It's a joke between us. In all truth, that was just like, okay, I was drawn to the theatre. I did some of those productions and I started doing school productions. But it's funny because when I look back at it now, I don't actually remember enjoying being on the stage. I just was enjoying being part of the community and all of that
Mm,
sort of thing. And
mm,
it wasn't until I finished high school where my dad was like, I'm trying to figure out what to do for my university degree and everything.
yeah.
And my dad had said to me, "What are your three favorite subjects at school?" And they were graphic design, art, and theatre. And he said, "Well, go find a course that does that." And
Mm,
so I went and did some research, and I found a production degree in Victoria, which is one state in Australia, and one in New South Wales. And there was the course that I got into was called Design for Theatre and Television, and that became the journey into
mm,
the foray of backstage and
yeah.
production and stage management. And so that's really where I got started.
What's the hardest thing that you've ever done?
Whew, what a
I know. Just a
question.
light question.
There's been so many. Oh, I think the answer to that question is so multifaceted for me because I think in every stage of my career there's been quite difficult moments. I was in Saudi Arabia. We opened this show, and then there was something that fell out of the ceiling um, in the first night, which was extremely dangerous.
Mm,
And as the producer, I had to tell the client and everybody, in Saudi Arabia, we're not doing another show until this is fixed. And
yeah.
I remember standing in a parking lot with 20 Arab men, being the only female, with a technical director standing next to me saying, "This is not happening."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've stood in, the House of Dancing Water and turned to the leadership team and said, "This show is not happening," knowing what it means to be massive loss of the
Yeah.
show in terms of revenue and things like that. And so, one thing I do know when I talk about hard things, I have a very strong moral line, especially when it comes to safety and things like that. And I will never cross it. And that's what people trust in me. So to talk about hard situations, I have been so exposed to so many. I'm very confident in that. When I talk about personal hardship, um, there's some in the workplace and there's some as a parent. My son, when he was just before he was 4, got Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome in a bacterial and a viral infection at the same time
Mm,
when we were living in Macau, and his throat was closing over, and the scariest, hardest thing I've had to do was hand my son over to a team of people that spoke Chinese to save
mm,
his life, and and not knowing and being totally powerless as a parent to
Yeah.
be the person to save my son's life, right?
Yep.
That's a hard thing, you know.
Yeah.
Being in a situation in producing environments where the client has been incredibly relentless and cruel and not passing that energy or situation down to the people below you who are
Hmm.
working for you. Those are really hard places to be, to absorb the impact of something above you and not letting it go down to the team below you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think those are, in terms of hard things, stopping shows and cancelling things and whatever, people may see those as hard things, but I find those quite. I know that I'm the person to do those things, and
Yep.
I'm okay with doing that. When
Yep.
it comes to personal things where you're being affected and you're trying to protect other people, or being a parent and you're almost losing your child, those are hard things. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes,
And
indeed. Yeah.
there's been a few things in my life where they've been super scary like that.
Yeah. What did they teach you, if anything? Those hard things. What did they teach you about yourself?
That no matter how well intentioned you are and how much you try and how much you try to structure your life in a good and positive way, hard things are going to happen. you
Mm.
know it's just going to happen, and you've got to navigate through it. There are so many things in our world that are going to come at you. We are not immune to life, and we just have to navigate through those things and know that they will come, and not be like, oh, why me, why me? It's
Mm.
hard times hit everybody, and it's how you are through those things that defines who you are, and how you
Yep.
respond to those things that
Yep.
defines who you are.
Yes. 100%.
Mm. And we don't always do it well, right? Like I
No.
think the other thing is that I can't say, well, I dealt with that situation well. There has to be some forgiveness on yourself. Be like, okay, I
Yeah.
lost my shit, or I lost control of that situation, and you can reflect on that and build your resilience and
Yep.
preparedness for the next time that it happens. And I think
100%.
that's you can take that situation and sit there and regret it for the rest of your life, or how you behaved in a certain moment, or you can take that lesson and say, okay, that's never going to happen again, and I'm going to behave this way in the
Yeah.
next instance that I'm faced with that.
Yep. And we can remind ourselves that even though it might not seem like it, because, we're always comparing everything to everything, is we always do the best we can. We always do, even when it doesn't, it's maybe not how, in retrospect, we would have liked to have been, but it was the best we had, because nobody plays to lose. Nobody. We all want to do our best.
And it's such a wonderful thing to also remember when you're managing people, that everybody's
Hmm.
trying to do their best, you know,
Yes. Yes.
in within their capacity. And that's something that I've learned a lot working cross culturally, because I think I often talk to people about um, there's a lot of people that come and work cross culturally. There's a lot of expectations, and
Mm.
especially in our industry, job titles and roles and responsibilities are very fluid and interpreted differently and play out differently in different zones and regions. And so there's a lot of like, you should be doing this and you
Yeah.
should be doing that, and all of the shoulds of the world, right? And I think that often I'm looking at people in a cultural context of, what is their country culture? What is their family culture, and then what is the company cultures that they're used to, and all of those, and then their personal motivations, and all of those facets um, play into how they show up at work.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
and so and especially when you're working cross culturally, because even from a country level, our cultural dimensions are very different, can be very different. And so even the baseline in which you're operating can be very different from their baseline. And then
Yeah.
their family upbringing, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, their cultural beliefs, their practices, their view on money, or all of these things, and then the company cultures that they've worked in and how they've been expected to play in those spaces. It's a minefield, absolute minefield. And
Yeah.
so from a fundamental perspective, getting to know and understanding who people are and what they're capable of is the first step in a producer understanding about how successful they can make a show, right? And like
Yep.
what you can get out of people in any given day or moment.
Well, yeah, like how you can support them to be their best, right? Recognizing what their best is, what they're capable of, and maybe even seeing a little bit that they don't see. I mean, that's a great leader,
Mm.
right? And then indicating and supporting them in that way, which is what you do in spades. I mean, that's really what you do. You're not sort of just laying the law and doing it your way or the highway. I mean, that's the essence of good leadership, which is what I respect so much about you. I mean, really, values based leadership, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also about, you know, not just accepting how it is, setting the bar of what you'd like to
Yeah,
achieve from them, and also like pushing them to set that
yeah.
bar, but then keeping the expectation here.
Hmm.
Because if you set the bar here and then expect it to be here, and
Mm,
that gap is too much,
mm,
then you're only going to be disappointed. So
mm,
like I often look at the baseline and I think, okay, there's our baseline. I'm going to
mm.
ask you to do this, and then anywhere they get between here and here is
Yep.
a win for me,
I love
you
that.
know?
Yeah, I love that. No, 100%. That's very
And
good.
that comes back to that idea of perfection versus,
Yes.
but you shoot for the moon, but keep your expectations there, and somewhere between you here and the Earth and the moon, you're going to land, and that's the best you can get in any given circumstance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I asked you the hardest thing you have ever done. What's the easiest?
I'd like to answer that a little differently in the sense of like, what's the easiest space and place to be in for me? And I
Yeah.
think that when you're in a flow and you're in this place, and it doesn't mean that it's easy, but when time stops and things become not hard and you're just in the moment
Mm,
and you're in that state of flow, that for me is that's when you know you're doing what you're supposed to do. When we were creating the House of Dancing Water, obviously it was one of the hardest projects of my life. We'd have 300 people, we'd have Franco screaming at us. I'm navigating this, 125 winches and a 50-meter pool that's 7 meters in depth with 22 scuba divers underneath it. But it came into this like, what was beautiful about the process there is when we built the show in Belgium, we had this training and formation period, and I lived and worked with most of the performers for nigh on a year.
mm,
And we had this community and a connection, which I actually credit the success. I think the success of the show was partly because of this group of people coming together in such a unique and beautiful way. When we got to the theatre, we just knew each other so well. And I'd get on the microphone and be like, guys, move over to here. We're going to move this lift. This is going to go up and down. And we're in this state of flow. And the creation of that show became so productive
mm.
because of that relationship between these people. And we had built these things together, the technicians, the artists, or whatever. And then we'd build all of this over in Belgium, and we'd come into this theatre and we were executing it, and we were in such a state of flow that time stopped.
Yeah.
And I just remember the magic of that period. It was hard and it was tough and it was 16-hour days and whatever, but we were in this flow. And
Mm,
and and I always look for that moment where things are flowing. And again, as a producer, you know that you're in that state of ease because you've put the things together to create the alchemy for things to happen in a beautiful way.
yeah.
And that's where you create great shows. So I'm looking for that ease in, not that it's an easy show or an easy thing, but the ease in which people come together and the way that we create things.
Hmm.
That synergy is really important to me. And then you're doing what you're supposed to do, right?
100%. It's beautiful. I always ask because it's called live in the moment, stop time. What does living in the moment mean to you? I mean, I kind of feel like you just described it, but I would love you to, if you feel like, elaborating on, more specifically to that question.
I think if you were to apply that to every part of your life is really important, especially in a
Mm.
career that demands so much of you. The biggest gift I was given was to have children because you're forced to divide your time between work and other things in your life, and creating space for all of those things. And when you're running two companies and you're a parent and you're an expat and you've got family by distance and you've got so many people contacting you because now that you're running a website, people want to want to write an article, or they want to speak to you, or they want you to come to a conference. And I said to somebody the other day, on any given day, I have about 400 people who might interact with me,
Yep.
and I might be just in my home. Do you know what I mean? Between
Yes.
emails and texts,
Oh,
and
yeah. Hmm.
it can be really overwhelming. And I think that what I've learned, um, I used to feel guilty about whether I was in my parent being with my kids and then not doing the work, or the work and then the kids and the thing like that. All of that is irrelevant because there's no such thing as balance. It's where you put your attention and where you put your presence. And what's really important, especially in this digitally distracted world, is to be really present with whoever that you're with in that moment. Be present on my run in the morning. I'm present with myself because that's my meditation. When
Hmm.
I'm with my kids, I'm present with my kids.
Hmm.
When I'm at work, I'm present in the moment with the person that I'm meeting with at the work, fully focused, not
Yep.
distracted, giving of myself to that person and vice versa. Because if we're so distracted, life just passes us by, right?
Yes.
And you've got to really remember, I just woke up this morning and I was like, oh, it's already Wednesday. Gosh, this week's going by fast. And I literally told myself, like, let's be present today
Yeah.
because you've got lots to get done, but let's enjoy this day of productivity, but also being present with the moment because, as you get older, like those days get quicker. Well, they don't get quicker, but they feel quicker, right? So that's what I feel like is really important. And it takes a long time to learn that, I think, really
Yeah.
to know how to sit in the present.
How do you practice it? It sounds like you do. It sounds like you've got a good handle on that. I'm just curious. Yeah. What do you have any tools that you use?
Yeah, well, my mind races 1,000 miles a minute. I think it comes in small moments, and I think that I recently just bought a Italian espresso maker for the
Uh-huh.
stovetop, and I'm really just enjoying the ritual of this very
Mm,
simple thing of pouring the water, packing the thing, putting it on the stovetop, and waiting those couple
mm.
of minutes for
I love that.
for the for that. It's by introducing a little bit of sense of presence and play. My daughter likes eggs in the morning, and it's just happened in the last month that I go up and I cook two sunny side eggs up in the morning, and she's a teen and she's got hormones, and some days it's great and sometimes it's not. So I've started this little practice because I've got 2 minutes, right, of
Yeah.
like while these eggs are cooking to come up with something. So every day yesterday she was having a hard day, so I cut two strawberries into the shape of hearts.
Oh,
And I gave it to her, and she was like, "We got two strong hearts, right? We got two strong hearts today because you're going to go to school again." This morning, the eggs kind of look like two eyes, so I cut carrots and made like a orange hair and a nose and a face.
oh my
And
God.
so in my moment, I'm like, okay, instead of just sitting here or scrolling on Instagram, I got 2 minutes to come up with a creative plate out of the fridge. And it's just a moment it's a moment for me to be a little bit creative and for my daughter to get a smile out of my daughter, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you got to have those moments where in the day where you find joy. It's really important. People grinding and hustling and working and whatever, and joy can be found in the simplest of moments.
Especially.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the way I bring those moments into my life and to be present
Mm.
with people,
Oh,
a
I
little bit
love
of
that.
play.
What would you do you think, if you weren't in the performing arts?
That's such a great question. I think I'd still be doing something that's to do with coordination and creativity. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
think that what you do and who you are would manifest in a different way.
Hmm.
Whether if I still lived in the country Australia, I'd be probably on all of the committees, organizing all the sports teams, and then doing the bake sales. And do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I would be manifesting those skills in a different way. And
Yep.
that's not more or less than what I do, because I think it's just, all of those things. I have a huge value on those sort of sense of communities and things like that. But if you were to say that, I really enjoy baking, and I'd love
Mm.
to be better at decorating cakes, but I'd love to like um, something that my mum taught me to cook or bake, and so it's something that I do quite often. So, and that again, coordination or a business where baking cakes and coordinating things, maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm one of those optimistic people. I feel that there's always those options available to me if something disappeared of the industry and it went away for a second. Like, I think because I've thrown myself in different continents and started again so many times, I feel like I could just start again somewhere doing something else if I really felt like it. And there's such a freedom to that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not tied. I choose to do this work,
Yeah.
but it doesn't define me. And if I could take these skills and deploy it in other industries, I totally could.
Yep.
Just I'm not choosing to do that right now. So if it did go away, I'd find something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I do. Absolutely. No, I think that's amazing. What would you say is your Achilles heel?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a couple of things. I'd say stubbornness and impatience is part
Mm,
of the traits that I have to work really hard to sort of mitigate in some parts of my work and my life. And I've gotten a lot better over the last few years. They're probably the two biggest ones, you know.
hmm
Um, I have to, but a lot of that is mitigated by a lot of self-talking to. And you, talking to you.
Talking to me. It's so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I often I see things, how things are going to play out before they play out. I'm quite insightful like that, I feel. And so I just sometimes I have to sit there and wait for everybody else to be on board with that.
Yeah.
And I have to practice patience in that space between me seeing what it's going to be and also I think the other thing is that I think the biggest lesson, which you've helped me with it quite a lot, is other people's not feeling responsible for other people's behavior
hmm
and not being affected by other people's behavior around you and that's such a um growth thing, especially as a woman, right? Because you always want to fix things and you always want to create a nice environment for everybody and you want everybody to be happy, and then you realize that in certain circumstances that's just not possible, and when you want somebody to behave in a certain way and they just won't, there's nothing you can do about that, and not to let the frustration of that affect you personally. And I think that sits in the stubbornness and impatience camp
mm
because, right, like I'm trying to create these environments where everybody's happy, and accepting that is one thing, and then also not putting it on your shoulders and carrying it around is one thing that I've really had to let go of in the last few years. And I think I'm really quite getting there in that, and letting people be as they are, you know. And I say that to other people now, just let them behave how they behave, you know. And so I'm telling myself that, and then I'm also telling other people that too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't control them, right? So, but it's not that you don't care, and I think maybe that's probably part of the hard part for you is that you really do care. I mean, I know sometimes when we have the capability to see the way things could be, like you do, like you just described, we want to offer that to them too. And it gets frustrating sometimes because sometimes we're able to take them on that journey and teach them that, and sometimes not. And it can be very frustrating and feels almost like you've failed a little bit. And so then it gets turned on self because you think, well, why couldn't I have? Maybe I didn't do something, or maybe it's me, or instead of just realizing that you cannot control how they feel, you can just offer them. You can control what you can control, and if your value is to make it as beautiful and warm as you like, then that's all you can do.
It's also a hangover from a stage management thing too,
Yeah.
because I think like there's such a level of control when you control the show,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So when you have this training where you are literally in control of everything and everyone,
Yep.
you're used to that control, right? That
Yep.
doesn't give you permission to go and control people in their own lives, though. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to be like, okay, just because you can control the show doesn't mean you can control everybody, everything outside that. You know what I mean? But it,
Yep.
like the mindset there where you feel that you have the agency to control that and you're trying to create that environment, and there's so many positive things about that from a stage management perspective and how it can play out into your life, but there's also like anything, there can be some negative things that you take on with it as well. So yeah, no, it's absolutely true. It's so funny.
It's so funny. Hey, what dream do you have that maybe you haven't put out in the universe yet? Is there something that's kind of brewing in your heart somewhere about something maybe that you dream of or?
For me personally, no, I have two humans in my life that I have a
Hmm.
responsibility to grow up to be quality humans.
Yeah.
So I think at some point in your life where you're like, okay, my investment in time and love and energy is to allow them to become the best versions of themselves, and a lot of time, my time is invested in that. And for me, my dream is to see them healthy and happy and satisfied with their world, and me being a person that has helped them take that space in there and their place in the world, and bring, have good humans. So
Mm.
that the core of who I am, that is my dream. It comes down to very personal rather than career.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to do what I do. I love what I do. I don't want things on my CV. I don't want to scale to new heights. I just enjoy my work, and I love what I
Hmm.
do. I just happen to do it in a great place and a great space that's very fulfilling for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really my dream.
Well, that's beautiful. And I would add probably that that vision you have of these humans that you've launched into the world and they're beautiful is that ease piece is that will bring you ease, right? That's the flow, isn't it? When it's just kind of like when you've arrived and it's just happening, you guys are the show. It's just running. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
love that.
and that's again, that's the long game, right? As you know, as
Yeah.
a parent, it's not a one project or a couple of years. It's
Yep.
a good lifetime. It's a lifetime achievement award you're
Literally.
going for.
Literally. What do you know will stay true about you no matter what happens?
My discipline. I know whatever I do, I'm disciplined at it. And that has been one of the most consistent things in my life is my ability to be disciplined. And that applies to all facets of my life, my work, my taking care of my own body and my own mind, and my parenting. So those things are that will stay. And you can
Mhm.
see that in the women in my life, in my women family, my mothers, my grandmothers, my great grandmothers that I had the fortunate ability to know and love. And we come from a very resilient strong Australian women, and
Mm.
who are very, very disciplined. And that I feel the lineage of that in my life. And so that is a core generational thing that won't change. And I love to be part of that.
What would you say younger self would be proud of? What would little Anna be proud of right now?
Younger Anna. I think she would be proud of the places and spaces that I have managed to, from a small country town where most people live and breathe and stay there most of their lives, have how far and wide I have explored the world and experienced life. And, I think that little Anna was a bit of a huge reader and a big dreamer,
Mm.
and wanted to, live the depth and breadth of life as large and as multifaceted as possible. And I think older Anna is doing that.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty spot on, right?
Yeah.
So 5 years from now, what are we celebrating?
5 years from now, I'd really like to see the plans that we have for StageLink take off.
Mm.
I really believe what we're doing in that space has the potential to really serve the industry. And I think we're in a unique time because a lot of the time when create a business, it's not necessarily about whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It can be about timing.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if we're in the right timing for this. And I feel like we may be. And I have hope. I have hope for that because I have a vision in my head about what I'd like the industry to be capable of in this onset of AI and drama about all of the things that we're dealing with in the arts and the lack of funding and the shifting and the shifting sands. And it's always been like that. But I feel
Hmm.
like everybody seems to be really worked up about it now and stressed about it. And I really think we have to, we have so much capacity and we're so capable. And I'm such an optimistic person and I want to put a platform out there that serves it. And I believe that the foundation, although it's been a long project, it's a long learning curve. I started Theatre Art Life in 2017.
Yep.
So it's almost 10 years since I've been in this little media space, understanding how that space works. And I'm trying to bring the digital with our industry into a space that can serve each other. And I like to play in that space where we're creating things that don't exist yet. So I'm really hopeful. I want to see that come to a fruition that serves the industry. So that's one of my hopes. I feel more and more compelled to do projects that, again, serve communities and cultures rather than be a moneymaker. When we did the New Year's Eve show for EMAR, the chairman asked us to do the show for 7 days after. So on the New Year's Eve show, everybody pays for the ticket to watch the Burj Khalifa fireworks. So the people that play in that space on New Year's Eve have quite a higher socioeconomic status. And the chairman said, but I want the people of Dubai to see the show. So we ran it for another 7 days. And over those 7 days, something quite incredible happened in the sense that people from all demographics, because it was free, could experience this show.
Mm.
So people were coming, Emiratis and Filipinos and Pakistanis and Indians and Russians, and people were all converging on a community event that they could all participate on that. And
Mm.
from that, in the social media space, there was a sense of pride. This is our Dubai. This is the kind of shows that Dubai puts on. And what's beautiful about that moment is we're so digitally driven these days, but to have people come from different socioeconomic backgrounds and that accessibility for people to stand in the same space and experience something together, you've got to realize how that doesn't happen very often anymore.
No.
And so, like, we have to keep making arts. People have to keep creating and reminding people who they are and what is important, which is community and collective psyche as a culture. And we need to create the spaces to do that. And so the important thing is not to create entertainment for the purposes of people being entertained. It's to create entertainment for the people to have a sense of belonging. So again, my 5-year plans are not on where I want to be. It's on my hopes. And so my hopes I can do more of those things. And my hopes is I can serve the industry with StageLink. So, and if I've got the money and the security and this financial situation under control in my own personal life, then the more of my personal time I can dedicate to those missions.
Yeah. Brilliant. Beautifully said, and it's so true. How do you want to be remembered?
I just want to be remembered as somebody who cared for other people. That becomes very, very personal, you know. Like I don't necessarily want the whole world to remember me, but the people that are important in my life need to remember me for me being there for them when they needed me to be there for them. And that's my children and my partner and my parents and my siblings, and knowing that those are the things, because the memories are the people that are going to remember you are those ones, right? Over the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're living the way you want to be remembered. I mean, you're living out loud very much like that, like mission accomplished, basically, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's funny because I do ask, it might sound really morbid because I hate flying and I fly a lot, but I like, you know, if something happened to me today, I ask myself, would I be satisfied with what I've done thus far?
Yep.
And I ask myself that question a lot. And I think it really does guide how I live my life, because I'm especially after losing my mum, I'm very, very aware of my own mortality, and that's why I want to be present, and I want to make sure that I make the most of each day, and also have no regrets in the sense that I did my best every single day, so that if something did, God forbid, happen to me, that the foundation of myself is in my kids, the foundation of what I've built is there, and and that I've given everything, up until this point.
So we've arrived at the rapid fire. What makes you?
Oh, there's more. You've already got so many great questions, and now you're going to hit me with more. I love this.
So here we go. What makes you? I'm going to say a word, and you're going to just answer with whatever comes into your head. So you ready?
Go.
Anna Robb, in what makes you?
I'm scared.
What makes you hungry?
That's a great question. What makes me hungry? Like food-wise, or you just asking me to answer the question, aren't you? What makes me hungry? Seeing opportunity.
What makes you sad?
When people have a belief about themselves, but it's not exactly how they are. When there's a disconnect between who they are and who they think they are, I find that to be sad.
What inspires you?
Life generally. I'm very easily motivated. Music, food, my coffee in the morning, all the things. I am a very simply satisfied person. A good conversation, everything.
I love it. What frustrates you?
If I'm procrastinating, I don't like when I procrastinate.
What makes you laugh?
Oh, my kids. My kids make me laugh.
What makes you angry?
Banking processes in Hong Kong.
That was very specific. Finally, what makes you grateful?
The beautiful people in my life.
I love that. What are the top 3 things that have happened so far today?
I made eggs with spiky hair.
Totally.
It's a good question. It's a high question to ask because it's only 9:15, right? So I've got to come up with 3 things before driving my daughter down to the ferry terminal is something a simple joy of mine, just because we have this little routine when she gives me a hug and does a little heart sign as she leaves and things
Love
like
it.
that. So the spiky hair eggs, my dropping my daughter off, and my new espresso coffee maker that I
Nice.
made a coffee with this morning.
There you go. What is something that you're looking forward to both today and then long term?
I schedule my entire life on my calendar, and I have a long list of things to do today. So I'm actually looking forward to knocking that list out today. And it's one of those days like today's going to be a good work day. So I'm going to smash that out. And then long term, I have a personal goal. I live on an island, and it's defined by 2 peaks, Lantau Peak and Sunset Peak. It's the second and third highest peaks in Hong Kong. I have a personal midlife goal to compete in the Lantau Peaks race in October.
Nice.
3, which is 24 kilometers and 1,800 meters elevation and descent. And I want to take my midlife body through that hell, and I obviously that requires some training and all of that sort of stuff. But that's my own personal thing that I want to do for me, is run my 2 mountains behind where I live right now and in that race. So that's one of my more midterm, long-term goals.
Yeah, something you're looking forward to, right? In the long term, because
100%.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Listen, I cannot thank you enough. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's been so awesome. You have great questions, as always.
I've been speaking today to Anna Robb. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Lisa Hopkins. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. And remember to live in the moment. In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to dive deeper into cultivating a life of creative possibilities with my new book, The Places Where There Are Spaces. It's filled with personal stories and insights to help you embrace living in the moment. You can grab your copy by following the link in the show notes or wherever books are sold. Let's keep the conversation going and growing.